You're watching New Vision TV News. I am Ruthina Seje. We broadcast from the New Vision newsroom. We come with the news around Uganda, the news around East Africa and the world. And later in this bulletin, we shall take you through our daily Pearl of Africa series and also a special report, of course, about today's Martyrs celebrations. We start off with the news around Uganda, where we look at stories making headlines across the country. We start off from Wakiso districts. Now, security is thumping up after securing millions of people who turned up at Namgongo for this year's Martyrs Day celebrations. Millions of people thronged Namgongo in Kira municipality. New Vision TV takes you through the events of the day. Still about the Martyrs Day celebrations, Rwanda Christians of the Catholic faith missed Martyrs Day celebrations in Uganda after security agents blocked them at the Uganda-Rwanda border. Like they had done in the past years, the Christians were on a pilgrimage to attend Mass in veneration of the Uganda Martyrs, which is central to the Catholic Church worldwide. Uganda Martyrs were canonized as saints in 1964. For this reason, 3 popes have visited Uganda. These are Pope Paul VI, Pope John Paul II, and recently Pope Francis. Christians from all over the world, especially Catholics, visit Uganda every year to celebrate Martyrs Day. It is the first time that a government blocks its citizens from attending Martyrs Day celebrations in Uganda. The Rwandan Catholics, in disbelief of the action of their security, were visibly upset by the infringement of their freedom to worship by the government. Enforcing what seems to be an anti-Uganda policy, Rwanda has warned its citizens not to travel to Uganda. This has been the stand since February. The Rwandan pilgrims, estimated to be 300, were stopped, forced out of buses and ordered to return home. Some were seen clenching with their rosaries in prayers and pleading with security operatives to let them travel, but all in vain. It has been a wonderful day, and the Catholic Church has confirmed the arrival of over 3,000 international pilgrims who participated in this year's celebrations, which ended this afternoon. According to Sister Josephine Anger from the host Archdiocese of Gulu, who oversaw the registration of foreign pilgrims, some 2,258 arrived at Namgongo Sunday morning. The biggest number is from Kenya with 924, the DR Congo with 905, Tanzania with 700, and Malawi with 100. Others are from Spain, South Africa, Nigeria, Mexico, the US, Canada, Ethiopia, Botswana, Netherlands, Italy, Germany, Australia, Ireland, Philippines, India, Peru, Singapore, France, and Sweden. Zimbabwe, Sudan, Austria, Mozambique, Burundi, and UK, Belgium, Portugal, Switzerland, Denmark, and Norway were also at Namgongo. Away from Martyrs Day celebrations, let us take a look at other stories making headlines across the country. We go to Nebi District now. Justice Simon Byabakama Mujenyi, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, has cautioned aspirants for the Nebi District by-elections against bribery of voters. Byabakama says it is criminal and may lead to nullification of anyone's victory. Commercialization of politics was also cited as a way of undermining democracy. Aspirants were urged to refrain from it. Now, bribery is prohibited under Section 68 of the Parliamentary Act. It states that both the giver and the receiver are liable for criminal prosecution. Byabakama was speaking at a stakeholders consultative meeting in preparation for the Nebi District LC5 by-election set for July 11th. 2019. Moving on to Kagadi District, the State Minister for Primary Education, Rosemary Seninde, has cautioned graduates against wasting money on graduation parties or ceremonies. Seninde advised that the money should instead be used as startup capital for a business. She said a few government jobs available cannot absorb hundreds of graduates from over 40 universities who qualify every year in Uganda. She made the remarks on Thursday while officiating the second graduation ceremony at Paradigm Institute for Vocational and Media Studies in Kagadi Town Council in Kagadi District. Let's close off the news around Uganda from Chibale District, where police is still holding 5 people suspected of beating a man to death. George William Kasuja, 29 years, a resident of Buliro Chibale village in Kakuto sub-county, was killed on Friday night in a bar. It is said the suspects, including Hilary Tukwasiwe, 18 years, and a 16-year-old boy, picked a quarrel with Kasuja, which later turned into a fight. Eyewitnesses told police that the duo pounced on Kasuja and clubbed him with sticks, leaving him unconscious before they fled. Kasuja's family members rushed him to Kakuto Health Center where he died. When information about Kasuja's death reached his colleagues, they mobilized a mob which searched for the suspects together with police detectives. Some suspects were found hiding in a bush and dragged to police, where they were put under custody. However, from Uganda, let us take a look at stories making headlines across the East African region. We started from Burundi, where the South African Development Community has rejected Burundi's application to join the bloc, saying Bujumbura did not meet all the requirements. A statement issued last week on Tuesday quoted the SADC chair, Namibian President Hage Geingob, as saying that Burundi did not meet the bloc's admission requirements after the latest assessment. We go to Tanzania. Tanzania continues to benefit from mining sector reforms, which Dar es Salaam says have seen the sector's contribution to GDP in 2018 to 2018 increase to 5% up to 4.8% the previous year. In the 2019-2020 financial year, the government targets $205.5 million in revenue from minerals compared to the projected income of $134.5 million in the fiscal year ending June the 30th. We close off the news around East Africa from Kenya, where the central bank governor has said there are plans to withdraw an old version of its 1,000 shilling banknote to tackle illicit financial flows and counterfeits. We move on to news around the world. We started from Sudan, where the Sudan ruling military council on Monday used force in a bid to break up a long-running sit-in outside the Khartoum Army headquarters. A short statement from the Sudanese Professional Association, one of the main protest groups which spearheaded nationwide protests that started in December, stated. We move on to the news from the Vatican. The Vatican's former number 3, Cardinal George Pell, will Wednesday begin his appeal against convictions for Barzan, which is sex attacks on 2 choir boys in the 1990s. Pell, who managed church finances and helped elect 2 popes, argues the verdict was unreasonable, that jurors were not shown vital evidence, and that was not asked to enter a plea in front of the panel. The most senior figure in the Catholic Church to be convicted of historical child sexual offences, Pell, was sentenced in March to 6 years in prison. We move on to Saudi Arabia. In a region of tight media control and official statements, the body language of Saudi Arabia's king and Qatar's prime minister spoke volumes about one of the Gulf's deepest fault lines. Sheikh Abdullah bin Nasser Al Thani did not blow or kiss the cheek of King Salman, whose country has led a two-year economic boycott of Qatar, when they met in Mecca on Thursday. Their closely watched meeting was the highest level encounter between the neighbors since their crisis began in June the 5th, 2017. Moving on to Romania, Pope Francis said Sunday politicians should never sow hatred and fear in an answer to a question about Matteo Salvini, Italy's strongman and leader of the far right. The pontiff told journalists on the return leg of a three-day trip to Romania that it would be very unwise of him to express an opinion on the Deputy Prime Minister and Interior Minister who heads the Anti-Immigration League party. Let's close the news around the world from Britain. Now, US President Donald Trump is in Britain on a state visit. The visit comes days before Prime Minister Theresa May steps down after failing to deliver Brexit. He will meet the outgoing Prime Minister on his first state visit to Britain. Trump met the royal family. Now, as soon as he landed in Britain, the US President went on Twitter hitting out at the London mayor, saying he has done a terrible job and he is a stone-cold loser. That is it for the news around the world. We now take a short break, but when we come back, we take a look at what's making headlines in business.